Welcome everyone to another episode of Big Brand MMA Podcast, episode 39. I'm your host, BigSteve. Got old mate Scrap back as well with us. Feels like it's been a while for some reason. Maybe because no UFC, just PFL last week. Really good card. I think this is one title fight away from a decent pay-per-view. You know, Thompson, Holland, Tai V Pavlovich always on pay-per-view, Jack Hermanson, Price Rowe. You know, not amazing, but yeah, like really solid fight night compared to the last fight night we got in terms of entertainment. 15 fights. At first glance, I thought there was going to be a lot of betting opportunities here. You know, after taping them all, don't have as much as I thought. Still have some fights, but do have a lot of thoughts that I would like to chat about with you, mate. What are your thoughts on this card?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Not a massive name value card, but some good fights. I think should be pretty competitive. There's some quite a few closely lined fights. There's only 2, 3 big favorites on the card, so yeah, should be good. A lot of kind of these lesser known contender series types as well. So generally, there's a bit of money to be made in those fights because the market doesn't really know how to price them.
Yeah, fight night cards are usually better for betting, in my opinion, just because of all the commodities, unknown commodities, and people making their debuts, etc., etc. We'll do a quick overview. I did an overview of the UFC and LFA last week. We had similar bets anyway, you know, Silva, Brady, etc. We'll do a quick overview of PFL. It was a decent card. I had a dog shot on Mariah's at $2.20. Honestly, looked amazing. I have no regrets there. Looked, I don't even know what you want to call it, maybe minus 500. Didn't look like he got out of the first gear. Had speed advantage. Looked like he was going to knock out Shane at any point. You could wrestle him at any point. Then he got knocked out, so it is what it is. I'm not really fussed about that. I'm glad I didn't have the under 1.5 because I was scared it would go long and then I'll lose both my bets. Had a little bit on Bud decision. I mentioned on the podcast I couldn't pull the trigger, so in the end I just sprinkled decisions for the tiniest bit. In the end, looked value. You know, it is what it is. It wasn't. I thought her best path was a split decision. That's why I just sprinkled it. So I didn't start the day great. Then I added C KO decision, Saturday Sue, which got me out of the hole a little bit. And then I hit the D'Elia finish. It was slight juice. There was no sweat whatsoever, which broke me even. And then the biggest bet on the card was over 3.5 and the over 2.5 in the main event. I had KO decision, and then I just I don't know. I woke up in the morning and I was like, why is no one playing KO decision? Like, this is value city. And then, you know, I saw that it was a little bit different to go to distance, and I thought I made the decision, okay, you know what? This smart betting would be just to cash it out. Even though I don't see how Pacheco wins a decision. She hasn't won a round in 8 rounds straight. I was like, nah, gotta follow the proper game plan, and cashed it out, and ended up cashing there, luckily, thank God. So I ended up just under 2 units. Not bad for PFL, considering I lost the first 2 bets and nothing I was overly confident other than the main event. How did you go, mate?
Yeah, pretty well, which is rare for me on PFL. Out of the major promotions, it's definitely the one that I tend to do worse on, but I kind of changed up my style a little bit for this card, so that seemed to work pretty well. My first bet was the over in the Magomed Karamov T-Bow fight. Had that at minus 160. And I didn't watch any of the fights for what it's worth. I've gone back and watched them afterwards, but from what I've heard, it was looked pretty good. It was pretty tepid fight. Next bet I had C money line minus 140 there. I ended up playing the goes the distance on the OEM Stevie Ray fight. So you know, they were only just coming through 2 rounds. So sounds like the pace wasn't crazy or anything, but OEM just too good, obviously, and found that nice right hook. Not something he does often, knocking someone out, but it was probably a little bit of a forced bet, so paid the price on that one. I was on Julia Budd in the next fight, and you know, the whole week, speaking to you and other guys, I kind of contemplated buying out of it and just playing the GTD. Didn't end up doing it, and then obviously lose the split there. So yeah, not great there. I should have really listened to my gut and just bought out and played the GTD. And then had the D'Elia KO. And then the GTD in the main event. So yeah, all in all, ended up with a decent profit. So pretty happy with it. Yeah, the only real bets. I wouldn't say I regret Bud. I mean, clearly there was a bit of value there. She fought to a split, but I mean, minimal upside, that was probably still her ceiling, even if it was value. And then, yeah, just kind of forcing that OEM play a little bit. I don't feel too bad about it, but just like 5 rounds, it's a lot of time to find the finish. But yeah, all in all, pretty decent card still. So yeah, happy with how it went.
It's good, man. We both made some profit. It was hindsight. It was a good card. Mago over was free. Look, I thought about it. By the time I got that Magomed over, it was minus 200, which probably, still value in hindsight. And it's just, I was a bit spooked by Magomed, knocking out Taylor and having Cooper on the ropes. And I was just like, yeah, he's so much faster. If he decides to let his hands go, which he didn't, he just did what he needed to do. But yeah, I was a bit spooked by that juice price. And Bud should have won that decision maybe. Look, if Bud pretty much started the worst way possible, ended up on the bottom, got mounted, got dominated, and she still looked value. If she doesn't get a kick caught, ends up looking fine. She maybe even wins round 1. Who knows? So yeah, not a bad bet. I know you haven't watched it. I'm just giving you a little rundown. Hindsight, it was okay. I was going to pass because I thought the same thing. She won't get any takedowns on Aspen. Her striking sucks. And then I'm like, you know what? There's value here. I can't predict how it's going to go, but there's value because Aspen sucks, and it ended up being value. So, all right, let's get into it. First fight on the card, Yasmin something, I'm not going to pronounce it, versus Estela Nunes. I'll take the first 2. This is an interesting one. It's a bit of a tale of a lot of spots that I'm contemplating, which is why I wanted to do this with you, get another opinion. Rather than just listen to the echo chamber on Twitterverse, etc., etc. I faded Yasmin Yaragu. I'm just gonna give it a crack in her debut against Lucinda. It was a tiny sprinkle from tape. Lucinda is a grappler. She kind of gives me Erin Blanchfield vibes, but the Brazilian version. 20 years old, really good top time, really good jiu-jitsu, really good wrestling. Obviously not the best level of competition. And from what I see from Yasmin, she's a boxer and she has good takedown defense and good get-ups. So I was like, I don't see, Lucinda doing that great if she can't get takedowns. And then it ended up being a 3-round striking fight, and Lucinda did better than I expected. There was still value on that play despite not being able to get one proper takedown. So I was a bit surprised there, and obviously Lucinda, she wobbled Yasmin in the first. She got wobbled herself in the second, and then she kind of got she finished the round strong, and some people thought she won the first 2 rounds. I thought I was going to lose. I think it was in Albuquerque. It was in the Mexico area. There was a lot of Mexicans on the card, and I just thought the judges were going to give 2 rounds to Yasmin, and that's what it was. I always think of the worst when the scorecards are coming up. And yeah, she got wobbled, and a lot of the time she pressures and she's gritty and she goes for her own takedowns in regionals. And a lot of people are saying she won't go for takedowns, but she goes for a lot of takedowns. You just have to look into it. It's not even hard to find. And in that UFC debut, she didn't go for any takedowns, obviously, probably because Lucinda's got a good ground game. And she didn't pressure much. She ended up settling into a counter-striking fight in rounds 2 or 3, maybe because she got cracked in the first. She came out aggressive, so maybe she thought, okay, I got to respect this girl striking. And then it was a relatively slow-paced striking fight. Lucinda kept loading up, and Yasmin landed a few more cleaner punches, and that's what swayed the decision. On the other side, Nunes is a very good striker. I think she's a world Muay Thai champion. I lost money on her twice now. Once as an underdog against Canalosi. I thought it looked great. I think she was 2 rounds up in at least one of the judges or both of the judges' scorecards, and then she got subbed. And then I laid juice on her against Sam Hughes. I had a lot more on her, and then upon retape, and I saw how she kind of slows down and how she loves to grab the cage, I reduced and didn't really lose much. I just live bet Hughes as well, although Hughes was tagging her up in the second. What I noticed on tape with Nunes is she's a very low output, and she likes an outside striking battle. Or if you pressure her, she'll sit on her punches and she'll kick the shit out of you, but then she'll fall apart from the pressure, which is obviously why she's low output if no one pressures her, because she's obviously conserving her cardio. There is a bit of value on this fight, man. I mean, if Yasmin was minus 200, I wouldn't even contemplate it. She's gritty. She seems to be the real deal. She's 23. She gives me that I get the feel that she's, the real deal, and she'll fight for your money, and she's got good cardio, good power. Obviously, level of competition is not the best. She's obviously fought in the UFC now, so she'll probably have a better performance second time around, and she does go for takedowns. So if it was minus 200, I wouldn't even contemplate it, but there's so much. She's $1.30. It's like there's a lot of juice there, and it's just making me contemplate it. Just think, if she does come out the same way against Nunes, like she did in the last fight, and she chooses to strike on the outside, Nunes has amazing footwork, man, and she has elite striking, footwork, switches stances, kicks. When she long punches, got 2 inches of reach. When she sits down on her punches, she fought 2 durable girls in Hughes and Canellosi, so she couldn't really get him to stop pressuring her. But I don't know, if she cracks Yaz once, maybe Yaz decides to play a counter-striking fight again. And Nunes also has good get-ups, right? It's just she got up so many times, she got tired against the other. They kept going for takedowns over and over and over again. And if you say she wins round 1 clean and, round 2 potentially it's close, there's a bit of value there, but there's something stopping me. I don't know. I get this little slight inkling that it could be one of those forced dog bets, and then Yasmin wins the first round, wins the second, wins the third. Yeah, I haven't pulled the trigger, but it's such a big line, man. $3.50. I'm tempted. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree, man. I just don't see any reason why she should be this big a dog. Like, yes, she does have cardio concerns, but her winning like 2 rounds and hanging on to win a decision or something is like totally feasible. I'm also not sure Yasmin can sort of mix things up the way Hughes did, just kind of with like the cage push and stuff. If she can do that as effectively to get Nunes to gas, and I think it's just like something we've seen lately, when like a fighter has like a really bad cardio performance and they gas out and fall apart, they're just priced like they get massively underrated in the next fight. There's just a huge reaction to like the cardio fail. It's like really jarring. People get super burned and they just react like really emotionally, and then they end up being priced as a massive dog. So kind of just based off that, I think there's a bit of value there. Like plus, like I bet her at plus 280. I just thought that was insane. Like you're giving her worse than a 30% chance to win. There's just like no way that's right in my mind. So yeah, I'm on Nunes at plus 280, and then obviously if she looks to start like slowing down, then obviously you just try to get out live. But early, I think she probably looks a favorite. Like you said, she's cleaner. She does a really good job on the outside. I'm not sure Yasmin has like the tools to like consistently get inside on her. So yeah, I'd expect her to like look pretty good early, and then you try to flip off after a round, or if she looks fine after a round, you wait and see until she starts to look like she's slowing down a bit. But yeah, I think there's big value here. Pretty straightforward for me, like massive women's MMA dog, close striking fight. Yeah, pretty easy one.
Yep, makes sense, man. Makes sense. We'll see if I can come around to anything a bit later on in the week. It's tempting me. It's tempting me a lot. Okay. Next fight. We have Marcelo Rojo versus Francis Marshall. Another interesting line. I do kind of regret not playing Rojo at the best line that was available when Marshall was minus 200 and I taped it, and now it's kind of come in, and now I'm not as tempted as I was before. Marshall, I played him in his Contender Series fight. Right, he was fighting a bum in a can, a guy that's just been running through cans on the regional scenes, and there was a bit of questions there, question mark. Is he going to finish Marshall? And you just have to play those. If he doesn't, I've seen Marshall go 3 rounds. He's got good takedowns. He's a young guy, but he seems a lot more well-rounded. And in that fight, his stand-up looked a bit more improved. Had some nice straight punches. He was good on the counter. He was waiting for Matthews to come in. He wobbled him a few times as well, but yeah, like I said, Matthews just gassed nice and early, and he just made the fight so much more easier for Marshall. He also had a few punches there from Matthews, and Matthews also been knocked out in all of his amateur losses. So the guy's potentially a glass cannon, and and Marshall still couldn't get him out of there. So something to keep in mind. And he also couldn't get takedowns early in the first round, and he was forced to strike with him. So on the other side, Marcelo Rojo, man, this is a big step down. This is a big step down. Like, this guy's fighting killers, man. He was fighting killers even before he was in the UFC, right? For Castaneda and Combate, right, got submitted in round 3, stopped quite a few takedowns early. He knocked out Madrigal, who's a good fighter, 9-2. He's fought a who's who on Combate. Fought, obviously, Jesse Strader, who's not the best guy, but he was still in the UFC. Right, it's better than I can. Ran through him. He got hurt first, and he just got up and ran through him. And then, obviously, Charles Jourdain and Kyler Phillips. And that's a big step down, man. He's fighting a young kid that's also having a massive step up himself. Rojo's aggressive. He's a vet. He throws hard. He's got good tie, clinch knees. He works the body, high guard, is durable. The only thing that seems to be his weakness, he slows down, and if you constantly shoot for takedowns, he's got a few stuffs and get-ups in him. But over time, obviously with the cardio, he gets grounded a bit easier. He does give his back up a lot, which is not a good thing because Marshall jumps to the back straight away. It looks the backpack. But yeah, I mean, as many rear naked chokes as he has, they're all cans, and he still doesn't finish the cans as early as he should. He couldn't finish Ray Trujillo, who has 30 losses. Mike Taylor. Michael Lawrence. If you haven't watched that fight, Rings of Combat, the last fight before Contender, the guy's 7-6, and I know we call people cans, but this guy was doing like a spinning wheel kick 3 times over and over again, and Marshall was just staring at him like, "What are you doing, man?" It was a joke. Took him till 3 seconds before the fight ended to finish that guy. So yeah, no resistance. Rojo's going to come out. He's going to throw hard. He had Charles Jourdain in trouble. You can see he hits hard. Even Carla Phillips. Usually I watch fights on double speed. I watched the Carla Phillips one again slowly, and he hits hard, man. And Carla Phillips didn't want any of it. He was circling away. He said in the interview that straight away he could tell that Carla Phillips was a level above him. Like he kind of knew that he lost. He still put up a fight in round 2, stuffed a few takedowns in round 2, turned it on. Round 3, he stuffed a takedown, but the chain wrestling of Carlos he couldn't stop it. Yeah, I would have taken the early line on Rojo just because of the step up alone. He's training with Kraus now. Kraus is the one that told him that he needs to move up to featherweight. Apparently cut 20 pounds against Carla Phillips in a week. Just to stop him from gassing. He's put on a bit of muscle now. He thinks his cardio is better. I don't think Marshall's going to finish him until it's late. I did hit the over 1.5 at $1.65. I only hit it for half a unit. There was something stopping me. I think a lot of people are just counting on Marshall not being able to submit Rojo's tough, but I don't see a lot of people talking about what if Rojo knocks him out. He's got a lot of round 1 knockouts. Right? He's a powerful and aggressive striker, and Matthews was cracking Marshall on the Contender Series. I mean, he did seem to have a good chin, but Rojo's a different animal, man. So yeah, I just got a half a unit. I'm nervous, if Rojo. If I could have got that early line, I would have played quarter unit Rojo and half a unit on the over, and then hopefully Rojo wins a decision or knocks him out late. But yeah, at the moment I just have the over 1.5 small. I know UFC Betting Experience is asking about it, and yeah, you can't play the favorite. He's just an unproven kid coming from Contender Series, fought nobody. Rojo's no joke. And another play I considered was potentially Marshall round 3 or decision, or just a sprinkle of Marshall round 3 and by sub. I know I was just talking up Rojo and saying it's a dog or pass, but man, the guy's lost 1, 2, 3, 4 times in round 3, and he's been subbed a lot of those times. So as he gets tired, I feel like Marshall's best chance is to submit him in round 3. What do you think about the fight?
Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of covered it. So I think the angle, like Rojo should get off to a pretty decent start while he's fresh. He's going to be the better striker. His grappling, like you said, his defensive grappling is not as bad as I thought it was when I went back and did the tape. Like Kyler out-grappled him, obviously, but he's much better and much more athletic than Marshall. Like Rojo's serviceable on the ground. He knows how to defend himself and try to work back towards getting up. He's not great, but he's not clueless, you know. Hard to read too much into Marshall because he hasn't fought anyone good. He's fought like exclusively like really low level guys, and then he beat Matthews, who I consider to be a bit of a bum because he's a 1-round fighter, low zone guy on Contender Series. I think as it starts out, like as long as Rojo can defend takedowns early, he should probably look pretty good because he's going to be the cleanest striker. Strikes pretty well in combination, and then Marshall, he's probably going to get hit a bit, I feel, and he's going to start looking to grapple, and then the tide should likely turn towards Marshall like in the second half of the fight, just because Rojo is pretty reliable to slow down. Marshall did push quite a pretty good pace against Matthews, so unless Rojo can do something to like discourage him from pushing the pace, I think Marshall is going to be able to do that and use the grappling to kind of tire Rojo out a bit. So pre-fight, I think it's definitely like Rojo will pass on the money line, and then obviously you look to like flip it live because there's a good chance maybe he starts just getting grappled a little bit and gets a bit tired as the fight goes on. But yeah, for me, I like the over 1.5 the most. The only way I see it finishing under is Rojo just like cracking him, catching him with a shot. Like Marshall could catch Rojo as well, but Rojo's durable, man. Like even though he's been finished, it's usually because he's hittable and he just gets like broken down in like attrition throughout the course of the fight. Like you don't often see him just getting sparked off like one shot. Like Jourdain had to absolutely like flog him to beat him. Same with Kyler. Kyler had to just, you know, smash his legs to bits, take him down, ground and pound until he could get him into a submission. So yeah, I got that over 1.5 minus 140. I think that's pretty good. Honestly, I think it should be like a 2.5 the total with like maybe a bit of a lean to the under, just because the pace should be fairly high. But yeah, if you're going to bet the money line, I would go Rojo. Like you said, that best line's sort of gone now. It's come back in a bit, so I'm not really interested in any action. I'm just going to ride that over 1.5 because I think this goes over at, you know, 65, 70% if I had to line it.
Yep. I agree. It's the only way I see finishing is Rojo knocks him out. But the kid seems durable, so I'm there with you. Only for half a unit though. Only for half a unit. Alrighty, next fight we got Natan Levy versus Guida V Valdez. This is a good fight, bit of a shit show, bit of a low level. I'll let you take this one away, mate.
Yeah, a bit of a weird one. So this is one of those ones I was talking about with a Contender Series guy, Guida V Valdez. We haven't really seen much of him, right? Like he was extremely close to getting knocked out by that Alaska FC bum, Patrick White, was it, on Contender Series when he was like a just ridiculous favorite. So, you know, and then he goes in against Frivola and then, you know, same thing, gets into a war, but just gets dropped like a record like 6 times in a round or something like that and finally finished. All his regional tape, he just, goes out there and basically incites a brawl and get either finishes or, you know, he gets hurt a lot, but he was mostly finishing just cans. Going up against Levy here, I really dislike Natan Levy as a fighter. He's just one of those guys who you watch and you're just like, how does this guy keep, you know, finding ways to win fights, even though he's obviously dropped that last one, but he's just super unimpressive to me. You know, I don't like Natan Levy at all. He's got no hands. He's horrible in the pocket. He's pretty much kicks in jiu-jitsu. But that being said, that's probably going to be enough to beat Valdez here. Levy camp change on his old gym. So he was at Syndicate, right? Where's he now?
I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't. I'll be honest. As soon as I started, I taped like a little bit of this fight, and then I just passed. I don't have any action here. I think the line's about right. Levy at 65%, just because like grappling upside should be pretty big. You know, if he can get one takedown, he can probably turn it into a fair bit of control time. And Guida V Valdez is probably going to get stuck on the outside, getting kicked a lot. If he is able to like get inside into boxing range against Levy consistently, he'll probably be able to land on him because Levy's just terrible in the pocket defensively. Like chin in the air, hands are just all over the show. No idea what he's trying to do with his boxing. But, you know, if he makes it in that close, Levy's going to be looking to clinch up and take him down. So, yeah, I think the line's about accurate. I'm no interest in, like, laying that juice on Natan Levy. And to me, Guida V Valdez is, like, not a UFC fighter. He's just one of these Contender Series guys who will go, you know, 0-2, 0-3 in the UFC and then back to the regionals. So, yeah, not many real thoughts on this one. I was hoping Levy sub might be decent, but doesn't look like it is. Looks like the books are wise to it. So that was the only angle I was considering. But, yeah, pass for me.
Yeah, I think he's in Extreme Couture, which I guess is it's a good camp. But I don't
Yep.
know. I mean, yeah, like what are they going to change? He's still a karate jiu-jitsu guy. Yeah,
Mm.
maybe he might improve his wrestling a bit. I'm kind of tempted on Valdez, man. I don't rate either of these guys. My angle is I've watched the one fight where Valdez went into round 3. I know a lot of people are saying play down to 2.5, including Mr. Rob Lawrence here. It's minus 200. I don't know how much value's on it. I can completely see this going over. You know, two guys in a volatile, brawly fight, and no one getting finished. Right? I mean, Levy seems tough. I've seen him rock multiple times, but it still seems tough. I don't know. I just think I'm forcing down the 2.5. UFC betting experience. Round 1 or bust. Well, this is what I'm going to say here, mate. So the one fight that Gennaro Valdez went into round 3, it was against Hilario Peraltes, who was 5-0 at the time. Probably the best opponent he's faced other than Frivola. And he was getting absolutely dominated on the ground, right? So he was getting his back taken, getting mounted, getting put in subs. And Valdez just kept getting out, surviving. And then round 3, his opponent looked absolutely cooked. And Valdez was just laughing at the camera. You know, he's 2 rounds to kneel down. He's bleeding. And he just comes out, takes him down, mounts him, and just pounds him out to a KO decision. So, like, this guy, like, we all know this guy has no quit in him. You know, in Contender Series, everyone else is taken down and just ground and pound. He has a really good ground and pound, has solid jiu-jitsu. Obviously, hard to know how solid because, you know, all bums that he's facing. But even when Frivola hurt him multiple times, you know, and when he saw that he couldn't knock him out and he went for guillotines and rear naked chokes, Valdez still had the whereabouts to defend properly, even though he was like concussed or rocked multiple times. You know, he knew the defense to get out of the back control and to get out of the guillotine. He was never in any danger. And Levy's a bit underwhelming in terms of his jiu-jitsu. Like, he's meant to be a really good submission fighter. You know, he couldn't submit Nick Batters, Ben Lugo, who's crap. Mike Breeden, Rafa Garcia. Like, these guys are not great, and he doesn't really have that many. He's got more decisions than submissions for a guy that's supposedly a really good jiu-jitsu fighter. And his control, he loses control a lot. Yeah, he gets mount and then he gets reversed. I can just see a super scrambly fight here where, you know, Valdez gets taken down and gets reversed and maybe even rocked, and he rocks Levy himself. I don't know why the hell Levy's minus 200. Like, he just barely beat Mike Breeden, who's horrible. He barely beat Mike Breeden. He got wobbled multiple times. He got tired. He looked like he absolutely hated the pressure that Breeden was putting on him. And he was on the way to losing that fight. And then he won a 29-28, I'm pretty sure. He was on the way to losing it. And then he dropped Breeden, who was piecing him up in round 3. He dropped him and then just stole that round. And did the same thing in round 2. So if Valdez just does the same thing and pressures him and, you know, just puts it on him and goes for takedowns and, you know, hits him harder than Breeden, and yeah, I think it's just going to be a dogfight. And Levy's been in 2 dogfights. He was in a dogfight with Rafa Garcia and just couldn't stop a takedown and got gassed himself. He also can't throw his stupid spinning wheel kicks and shit if he's getting pressured by Valdez. He can't do any of that on the back foot. But yeah, obviously Valdez can get dropped himself. He's super hittable. I think that's why he's a dog. But yeah, you can. I feel like you can steer into the volatility here and just play the dog, and, you know, Valdez is going to fight for your money. Yeah, despite having some weaknesses. I haven't pulled the trigger. You know, it's hard to trust the guy, but what I've seen is one guy seems to be more of a dog. The other guy is just a karate jiu-jitsu dude with a lot of weaknesses himself. So I have no idea why he's minus 200 after just barely getting past Mike Breeden. So Levy's the type of guy that's always had the bookies have always been generous to him. So it's a pretty interesting thing to see. Other than that, good live bet fight. Good live bet fight. Valdez is going to be in it. If he doesn't get knocked out or something, he's going to come on strong. So yeah, dog or pass for me. Valdez live bet. Minus 200. It could look like value in the under 2.5, but yeah, I'm passing it. It's a bit too juice for me. Okay. Tracy Cortez, Amanda Ribas, next fight. I taped this first. I know someone that's on Cortez. It's like dog money, who I respect, so I looked into it, went pretty deep. Yeah, Ribas actually has decent takedown defense, decent hips, got a judo throw of her own, but she's always capable of at least spending a round or a lot of time on bottom, just not getting up, right? Obviously against Dan, she got up straight away. Against Jandiroba, she just stayed on the back for the entirety of the round. and against Valerie Whitmire. She also got her back, fell off, and just ended up on the bottom for a bit. I think she absolutely lights up Cortez on the feet. Cortez had been dropped by Keisha of all people. She was getting lit up by Guida. Guida, just an idiot, had that fight in the bag. Whenever she was lighting her up, she went for a takedown and then obviously ended up on bottom. She's a guard puller. Ribas is good at disengaging. Like I said, other than the times that she plays jiu-jitsu for a bit, you would think she wouldn't want to play jiu-jitsu here at all. Cortez has elite submission defense. She was in armbars against Blanchfield, against Gato. She's really good at stacking, getting out. I think whoever you want to play is you're playing by decision. I don't see Ribas submitting her. I don't see Cortez doing anything but laying on her. Even Vanessa Mello was cracking Cortez. Cortez always had bad defense. So yeah, it's a pass for me. I pick him. I see no value whatsoever. If you're gonna pick Cortez, sprinkle by decision. But yeah, could be a live bet. Could be a live bet when Ribas gets her bottom time out of the way, like in round 1, like she usually does. I can see her winning rounds 2 and 3. She has really good cardio as well. So it's a pass for me. I'm leaning Ribas, but nothing I can play here.
Yeah, same thoughts pretty much. Like you got to think Ribas is going to win the striking, and it's really a matter of if Cortez can get enough top time to win a decision or not. So, kind of a binary read. Like if Ribas wasn't so happy to play guard and do like dumb judo stuff to try and defend takedowns in the clinch, I'd probably play her pretty happily. But like you said, yeah, she is prone to getting taken down, especially early. And I think Cortez will have the urgency to shoot pretty proactively because she's going to be getting outstruck. So, yeah, I'll look to live better as well. Hopefully Cortez has some wrestling success early and you get some like nice dog money on Ribas. I did bet her no scorecards as well at minus 140. Like there's a very high chance it just gets voided. But, if someone's finishing this fight, I think it's Ribas like 80% of the time. So minus 140 was pretty crazy, to be honest. We've seen some holes in like Cortez's defensive jiu-jitsu when she's on top. She's a bit of a lay-in prey artist, especially in the guard. So you never know. She could get stuck there, or Ribas could take her back or something, or maybe Ribas can even hurt her standing. You never know. Likely going to go to decision, I would imagine. But if there is a finish, it's definitely coming from the Ribas side, I think. But otherwise, yeah, I'll look for that live bet as well.
Cool. Let's move on. That's a crazy line, by the way.
Next time.
Yeah, I'm not even going to look because I know it's not going to be anywhere near that now. Next fight, Elkins versus Pearce. Not much to say about this. A lot of people saying, Pearce is just the younger, better version of Elkins, and he is. If you give Elkins fighters like Connolly, who's just as old and not as good and worn out as him, yeah, he's going to out-grapple him, and the pressure's going to look too good for Connolly. But Pearce, I'm so impressed by Pearce handling Amikani early in the first. Amikani's an elite wrestler, especially when he's fresh. And just the way he stopped his takedowns and busted up with the elbows. Elkins, he still loses. Jonathan Pearce still loses position. Rodriguez he seemed to be kind of gassed in rounds 2 and 3, and he's still got some spots on Pearce. He got his back. He out-scrambled him. He's still got those holes. He's quite aggressive in this scrambling and loses positions. And yeah, I think Elkins, if you give Elkins that kind of game, he can do well. That's the worst part about Elkins is his striking defense against someone more fast. I don't think Pearce is that dangerous. Anyone can wobble Elkins. We've seen Ryan Hall dropping him all over the place. I was looking at the finish avenue, with Elkins being completely washed. And yeah, just Jonathan Pearce, I don't see anything on tape that gets me excited about him finishing Elkins, especially on the ground. Yes, you got Kai Kamaka with some ground and pound and Amikani, but these guys death gassed. I don't see Elkins death gassing. I can see Pearce dominating him with some wrestling, just like Derek Minna early in round 2 as well. And then, round 2, like I said, Kamaka and Amikani almost got out round 2. So I was looking at maybe rounds 2 and 3 finish, but I reckon I'm going to look at Pearce round 3 or decision. Right? I think he's best because he doesn't throw much ground and pound, and Elkins is going to be scrambling, and he's not going to get tired, and he's going to get the fight that he wants. I think Elkins makes it to at least round 3, and at that point, he's still not going to be tired. So I think he's just relying on a cut stoppage or Pearce sneaking it under the neck. So yeah, yeah, round 3 a decision for me for Pearce. I kind of like that play. I haven't looked at the odds yet. I think I'm going to be on that side. What do you think?
Yeah, man, I agree for the most part. Like, at first glance, the money line does look like pretty wide, but especially when you go back and watch the Minna fight, it was a pretty concerning look for Elkins. Like, obviously, he's extremely slow and, like, rickety and just body's probably shot to bits at this point. He's really easy to take down against the cage. Like, what's kind of stood out to me was, like, his hips are just really bad. Like, he's still a really good wrestler, obviously, and he knows how to scramble well. But his hips just aren't there anymore, right? He just can't, like, explosively, like, push his hips into guys or sprawl or throw his hips back or anything. He just kind of gets folded in half against the cage. So I think Pearce will be able to do his, classic thing that he always does of just using, like, his length on the feet. Pretty ugly striking, but it's effective just to back his opponent to the cage where he can shoot, get the takedown. And then from there, he just chases the back really well. Long legs, body triangles, that sort of stuff. So it's pretty hard to see Elkins not getting taken down and getting his back taken, like, for large portions of this fight, in my opinion. Like, his upside is, like, a really weird split decision, so I don't really have any interest in backing him. If I had to make a bet, yeah, I'd either go, like, that Pearce round 3 decision or the over. But he's just so old, man, and, like, Pearce is going to spend a lot of time in dominant positions, even though he doesn't throw much ground and pound. Like, he will if dudes, like, belly down to escape the turtle, and I could see that being something like Elkins might do, being a wrestler, trying to, like, belly down, quad pod, shake him off the top. So, and then obviously with that much back time, like, there's just a chance he punches under the neck and finds the choke. Even though Elkins has been, like, super hard to, submit. So yeah, I think I'll just pass this fight, to be honest. I don't feel the need. And, Elkins is old and shot enough that Pearce just lands a random strike and Elkins dies, So even though Pearce is, like, they're both terrible striking, this should be, like, an extremely ugly striking match whenever it's on the feet. But yeah, I think it's likely Pearce by either late stoppage or decision. But what's the Pearce round 3 decision? It's probably going to be like $1.90, $1.80. I don't know, somewhere around there. Maybe even money if you're lucky.
You never know. He might be. I think the book is favouring a finish, yeah. So
yeah, we'll see what it drops at, right? But it's like, man, it's going to be a horrendous sweat. So yeah, I'm kind of happy to pass, to be honest. Like, Elkins should be able to survive, but he's just old and his body's so fucked up, and Pearce just drives such a crazy pace, and he's going to get a lot of time in dominant positions. So yeah, I think I'll probably be happy to pass personally.
Fair. He'll definitely be bleeding in the first round. It's just, can he survive? Alrighty. Next fight, we have Michael Johnson versus Mike Diakase. This is a pass fight for me. It's just, I see a lot of people playing Johnson, think there's a bit of value because he has, first layer of takedown defense. Doesn't really matter with Mark. He's gonna shoot over and over again. I'm just not in the business of trusting Michael Johnson, who's completely past his prime, and you've seen him now get rocked by Alan Patrick of all people. You've seen him get, he had a 3-round striking fight against Jimmy Malaki. He still lost that. He's just a one-dimensional boxer, and I think Mark's fought a lot of better people, and I know a lot of people banging on over and over again how Damir Hadzovic and Borishev is so bad. They have such bad takedown defense. He's also taking down Lando Venata and Joe Duffy and a lot of the people he's fought. So, he's fought Fiziev and went to a decision, and Fiziev has elite takedown defense. I think he took down Fiziev late in the third as well. He came back from some massive adversity. Yeah, I don't think Johnson has it in him to win 3 rounds against Mike Diakase. Even if Diakase starts off slow, he's just going to keep pursuing the takedowns over and over and over again. And yeah, just zero interest in playing Johnson. I would probably just rather play Mark Diakase live after Johnson does something good with his fast hands early. He always has great rounds 1. That's when he hurts the opponents. That's when he looks lethal. And then you just know Mark is going to make adjustments. So zero interest here on anything really. Even parlaying it is just like, I never want to play Mark Diakase. at super juice, no matter who's. Actually, I'm lying. I parlayed him up against Hadzovic, but that was a different story. I was in Europe and I was lit, so and I didn't sweat it. So, but this is different. I just don't feel like it. So yeah, nothing on this fight for me, man. What about you?
Yeah, same. I haven't played anything. I think live's the way to go, or like you said, just because Johnson always comes out hot. He's still, even though he's old, he's still really quick. He can, and Diakase, sometimes he just looks a bit spooked on the feet. He doesn't always look super comfortable striking these days. So I could see Johnson coming out hot and like putting it on him early. His first layer takedown defense is usually pretty solid, like because he's athletic, he's got a good sprawl, hard to track down. He can just, use his physicality and stuff to defend early takedowns. But I think Diakase will, eventually find one, whether it's late in the first round or maybe even loses the first round, but he'll find it in the second. And like it's just a pattern with Johnson. Once he gives up one takedown, you can see it just really gets in his head, and he'll either get really spooked and like back up to the fence and not throw strikes, right, which makes him easier to take down, or he'll go completely in the other direction and just get really wild and reckless, which also makes him really easy to take down. So I think it's just a matter of time until Diakase like finds that first takedown, and from there it's just going to snowball. And then we've seen like once you get past Johnson's first layer, you put him flat on his back. His jiu-jitsu is terrible. He doesn't know how to get up, and he just gets frustrated and does dumb things on the mat, and he'll just give up a whole bunch of control time. So yeah, I think look for a better line on Diakase live because Johnson's pretty likely to have some early success. Diakase doesn't like set up his takedowns the best, and I think if Johnson comes hot out the gates, he can probably give Diakase a bit of trouble for like the first round. But yeah, should get a good live opportunity. I mean, I don't hate Diakase decision. I mean, just because, he doesn't know how to free up his hands from top position to like throw ground and pound or chase subs. He's always having to use his hands to like control his opponents, which is why we've seen his top time like that he's racked up in his last few fights, like not even come near a finish. So yeah, I wouldn't hate Diakase decision, but I'm just happy to like bet live because Johnson is enough of like a mental midget that he could find a way to get finished by doing something dumb. So yeah, agree with you there.
What's your thoughts on Mark telling Bisping that he just needed to get his feet wet, and that's why he's fighting like this, and now he's going to go back to looking for finishes, like the same thing that DOlidze did. He got offended by Bisping's commentary, and then he's come out and started to knock people out again, like his regional tape. Do you reckon? I mean, the case is paying 15, dude.
Yeah, like if he's going to get, he should get enough top time, right? Where it probably looks plus EV. But when you're in there, man, and you're in a fight with another guy, you're not like thinking about, oh yeah, I'm gonna show that motherfucker Michael Bisping what he said about me on the commentary, right? You're just doing what you need to do to win. So I'm sure like people will be out there betting on Diakase sub like they have in the last few fights. Personally, probably not. He hasn't shown me like good enough jiu-jitsu that I would want to bet on that. But at the same time, it's like crazy odds. So if you like it, why not? And if
Michael Johnson of all people.
Yeah, if he's going to cover his money line, then the sub should be looking like decent, So.
But then again, I think Damir Hadzovic is actually a worse submission grappler. Like he got 30 seconds submitted by Moicano, so it's like, and he wasn't not even close for 1 second.
You got to struggle to find a worse defensive grappler than Hadzovic.
Yeah. Oh well, I agree with Giza and what both of us said. I really warmed up to the live angle, even against Malaki. He's people think he's winning, and people are piling on Johnson as a favorite, and then he gets robbed. And he's just you can't underestimate how good it is to live bet against Johnson when he's doing good, because he's just live to lose. Instead of the other way, instead of putting money on him when he's winning at minus odds, you should be putting money on him. You should be putting money on him when he's winning at plus money, because he's going to lose at any second. Why do these clowns give a fuck about Bisping? Because Bisping is very annoying, and when he gets on a tangent, he won't shut back up about it. So when DOlidze was fighting, he was, for about 6 minutes straight, he was shitting on DOlidze. So I can understand why fighters are upset, just having to listen to that over and over again as they're winning the fight. He's like a child. So, and it's good because he got DOlidze to come out fighting like a beast, like back on his regional scene. He's capable of it. He just chooses not to fight that way. Alrighty. Another fight that I have zero takes on, Clay Guida, Scott Holtzman. It's just a classical journeyman fight. I thought I would like Guida. and I passed at a better line, and then the line moved, and now it's even closer. Now I'm contemplating Scott Holtzman. I think Holtzman was they gave him Jim Miller because he was running through everyone, albeit very low level of competition, and he asked for a ranked opponent, and then he got Dariush. For what it's worth, Dariush couldn't, he takes everyone down and gets their back and submit him. He took Holtzman down, took his back, and Holtzman just got up straight away. So he's a really good anti-grappler. He's got more power. We've seen a similar matchup in Marco Madsen, Clay Guida, a very athletic, hard guy to take down. And Guida had a lot more striking and a lot more volume and cardio, and he still lost a 3-round striking battle to Marco Madsen. So, yeah, it's a shit show fight. I just think Guida has to hold him against the cage and just win a weird decision based on, I don't know, volume and activity and head bobs. So, yeah, I have nothing on this fight. And Holtzman as a favorite is not very trustworthy. He's been dropped by Dong Yong Ma, the bad one. He got cracked by Jim Miller with big overhand left and somehow didn't drop. So yeah, just nothing I like here. It's hard for me to get a read. What about yourself?
Yeah, so I bet Guida early on. I got plus 180. I agree with what you're saying though. It is just a classic journeyman fight. Should be pretty close, in all sort of phases of the fight. I just thought plus 180 was a bit wide. Basically, I don't see any reason why it shouldn't really be dead pick'em, if I'm honest. Guida's the better wrestler. Who's more washed, Scott or Clay? I think, to be honest, you probably got to say Scott. Clay's old, but I don't think he's washed. His durability still seems to be there. His work rate still seems to be there. His cardio is still there. Whereas Holtzman, I guess I can't fault him on all those things, except really the durability, right? And Clay's not really the guy who generally tests that in most people. But I just like Clay's work rate, he's got his spastic boxing. He'll do bouncing around all over the place, just throwing combinations. He'll throw a 5-punch combination and 4 of them will miss, but 1 will land, and it looks good to the judges, Holtzman, he's just a bit low volume, right? He just throws single shots out there. He's a bit slow, and I think Guida's crazy movement and stuff. I think it might just frustrate him. It frustrates a lot of guys, right? It's got to be hard to deal with this crazy guy and his hair just flapping around all over the place. I expect the wrestling to be a bit of a stalemate, right? Clay's the better wrestler, but Holtzman's pretty hard to take down. He's super physical, super jacked for the weight class, and Guida just doesn't seem super interested in wrestling as of late. So I kind of just expect a scrappy striking match. Holtzman probably lands when he does with maybe a bit more pop, and Guida's kind of just putting together combinations like he does and bouncing around and looking busy. So at plus 180, I bet him to win a unit. So, only a little bit more than half a unit risked. And yeah, I just think it's likely to play out much closer than Clay looking 35%. I don't really see any reason that Holtzman should be favored more than he is. If you ask me to line this fight, I'd probably just put it as a dead pick'em because I just don't see where either guy is going to separate massively, if I'm honest. So yeah, dog money on Clay Guida is all right, but I wouldn't even be betting Clay Guida by decision, to be honest, just because Holtzman's chin has been cracked a few times now and he's old, and he has confirmed this is his retirement fight as well. So that's just kind of another thing that pushes me in the Guida direction.
Cool. Fair enough. I'll wish you all the best. Could be a good live bet fight as well. We move on. Next fight on the card, we got Angelo Hill versus Ducote. Not much to talk about here personally. Line hasn't moved much. It's essentially Hill a slight underdog, Ducote slight favorite. It's come in a little bit close to pick him now. What's your take on this fight, mate?
Yeah, so I bet Ducote originally, and then just pre-tape, and then I bought out of it after tape, right? I went back and watched the Panay fight again, as well as some of her other ones, and because in my mind I was oh yeah, the Panay fight, really good look, right? But after going back and watching it, I was this is pretty much all just Panay being shit. Not anything amazing that Ducote did. Pretty much all his success in that fight was the calf kick itself, and then everything that came as a result of the calf kick. Panay very hittable, stands super upright. So Ducote was able to find it with the hands, and then obviously just stood there and just got calf kicked the whole fight, right? And then whenever Panay would try to shoot, she just bends over at the waist like she does and just tries to run in with her head down, which doesn't work. But in that fight, you know, when I went back and watched it, I was actually kind of surprised. I don't remember Panay landing as much as she did with the hands, you know, like Ducote just kind of stands there right in front of you in the pocket, like ready to be hit, right? And obviously Panay doesn't have any power in her hands, right? So she couldn't do anything to really like scare Ducote off. But anytime like Panay was willing to let her hands go, she landed. Like she like just landed boxing combinations almost at will, right? And then she had some success in the clinch as well, like using the knees and stuff. And when I was just kind of picturing how this would go against Angela Hill, I'm like, man, if you're just going to stand there and like let Angela Hill throw combinations on you, Angela Hill's can probably do a lot of that same stuff in the clinch that Panay was doing. Yeah, I just got spooked off of it pretty quick, you know. Like after seeing that, I'm like, man, I think the striking will be kind of like single power shots for Ducote versus like the volume and the combinations of Hill. If Ducote doesn't get the calf kick going, then she's very unlikely to like look as dominant as she did against Panay, and I don't think that's going to happen against Angela Hill. I guess Ducote does have the grappling in her back pocket. That's one thing to like worry about. If she is getting outstruck, is she going to go to the grappling? I'm just not sure. She's like, Angela Hill's a big step up for her, right? Like those girls she was fighting in Victor and stuff are pretty terrible. This version of Angela Hill is definitely the best fighter that she's fought. So yeah, I coming away from tape, I was just like, man, I don't want to sweat this. Just feels like women's MMA split decision. So I bought out of the Ducote bet. So yeah, look for a live bet, I guess, would be my angle here as usual. But yeah, I think this is going to be close, to be honest, and the line's actually pretty accurate as a pick'em. I was wrong about there being like some value on Ducote.
No, that's cool. That's cool. It's good. It's always important to reevaluate your opinion. That's why I always take fights twice. Yeah, I taped it when the line was the widest. So when Angela Hill was like $2.10, and I got really. I know you were on Ducote at that point, and I was looking at it and I was like, oh man, I kind of like Hill here. I don't know. Cap must have seen something else, and it's just she's just a lot more aggressive, a lot more gritty. Ducote's, you know, just not long ago she lost round 1 to Juliana Lima, who just out-hustled her in the first round, held her up against the cage, outstruck her a bit. And then obviously Ducote started grappling. And like you said, Panay did absolutely nothing. Like just got calf kicked twice and she fell apart. That was it. I give up, you know, fight's lost. And didn't one judge give one round to Panay as well? It wasn't a 30-27 on all judges' scorecards?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know. Like she didn't do anything. But that's because, like you said, Emily just stands there, looks for her counter. She has a good overhand right and a calf kick, and that's it. She's just tries to have a technical point fighting fight, and yeah, she fought nobody. Just recently she got wrestled to 5-round decision, and Angela Hill goes for a lot of takedowns, man. She just kept taking down. She kept going for takedowns against Loopy as well. You know, everyone thought she was going to sprawl and brawl, but she's very physical. She clinches you up and she throws knees. She did it against Lemos. She did it against Loopy, like girls that are meant to be better than her. She even went for a takedown against Verna Jandrova, and then she seemed like she thought about it and said, oh wait, and then disengaged. So I think it's ingrained in her. She wants to rough you up against the cage. And I think it's just, you know, even though Emily's more technical, and I don't like how hittable Hill is, she makes every fight a brawl. You know, she always gets hit, she always brawls, and she just kind of wants to win the battle of attrition. That's why she always loses, because it's hard for refs. In a battle of attrition, it's hard for judges to be smart enough to know who won in a 3-round battle like that. So she always loses those. If she was more technical, she would probably have less split decision losses. So that's why I passed at the better line, and now the line is more narrow, and it's like, you know what? If it got wider, I probably would be tempted to play Hill again, but it hasn't yet. So yeah, I just think Ducote hasn't really done much to warrant being a slight favor over Hill, who's just going to push the pace and not let her have that technical fight with her. And she's also very good at catching kicks. I've never seen Hill react bad to a calf kick. You know, I watched the Lemos fight again to see, because Lemos probably the best opponent in terms of spamming the leg kick. And she got kicked twice, didn't react, and the third time she took her down with it. So, and she caught Torres's kicks multiple times. I know calf kicks are a bit harder to catch. You know, they're down by the ankle, and they're usually untelegraphed. But yeah, just dog a pass. Not much meat on the bone for me to sweat a split decision with Angela Hill again. But Hey, massive underdog against Loopy, and she got a unanimous. Unanimous 29-28, so who knows? I think that was Loopy just absolutely gassed as well. Loopy on short notice, just a completely different fighter. Let's move on. Okay, so the next two I'm taking over, which is it's ideal because I finally have some bets on the card. I can talk about it myself. So Nico Price versus Phil Rowe. Now I taped this fight probably second. Everyone was like, "Have you looked into Phil Rowe? Have you looked into Phil Rowe? What do you think of Phil Rowe as an underdog?" Blah 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 blah. So I went into it thinking that, and then I came out playing Nico Price as a $1.80 favorite. Right, so it was an extensive tape search. Right, obviously I've tried to fade Phil Rowe before. I also made money on Phil Rowe. I've played him against pretty much all the cans that he's fought recently. I played him against Kosei. I played him against Whip by KO. I remember a lot of people on Whip there. The line came in massively, and I was just telling everyone, look, yeah, he'll get taken down for round. Maybe he'll get taken down for 2 rounds, but he's just eventually going to knock out Whip. Like, you got to look at the fight in the whole. Whip's not going to wrestle him for 3 rounds and not get knocked out. And it was pretty much one combo that he threw in the second, knocked him out. And he just does that. He drops rounds for bad fighters. He pulls guard against Kosuke. He pulled guard. He was getting held up against the cage, and it was tough in the takedown. And he just decided to drop down for him to full guard. I was like, why? Why did you do that? Like you just spent 3 minutes stuffing the takedown, and then you decided, no, I'm just going to pull guard now, and then just stayed on the bottom. And then round 2, he comes out and he just throws a flying knee. The first thing he did was throw a flying knee, and he got clinched up. Luckily, he still got a KO. He was a big underdog there too. And yeah, even on the contender series against Shabazian dropped him. He backs up a lot. He doesn't like pressure, which is when he gets dropped, when he gets backed up, and when he gets taken down, obviously against the cage. You can take him down in the middle of the octagon as well, but that's probably the best time. Obviously, massive reach. When he does let his hands go, they're quite good. I think there's a lot of fights here a lot of fights on tape that are relevant to this fight right here. So it makes it easy to get a read, right? More or less, even though it's a volatile fight, right? So Gabe Green, he fought Gabe Green, who's just a pressure brawler with good cardio, and he's very hittable. And just Rowe was hitting him, but he kept backing up. He just couldn't handle the pressure, right? Gabe Green chewed up his front leg as well. By round 3, every single calf kick he threw, Rowe was just falling on his back, just falling over. Green also just loved to play guard, just negative takedown defense, so Rowe got on top a few times. Obviously, Nico Price has the same weakness. He can be taken down. Tim Means took him down with ease. Jeff Neal knocked him out on the ground. James Wick, he seems to get on his back quite easily as well, but then he's got those intangibles of just throwing hand fists from the bottom and up kicks and does wild shit. I don't think Rowe can just hold on to him, and just play jiu-jitsu for 3 rounds. Nico Price throws a lot of leg kicks. Like, he just spams him. Great volume. He's fought Pereira, who also circles and backs up a lot like Rowe, but obviously a much better version. Pereira was just throwing him around and outstriking him. In the end, Pereira still lost round 3, and then Price was just pouring it on. He took Cerrone down. He tried to take Pereira down. He took Luque down. He took Oliveira down in rounds 1 and 3. So a lot of people saying he's not going to go for takedowns here. I mean, he goes for takedowns a shitload of times, so I don't know what they're talking about. I just think Price is the more durable guy. Hits harder. He doesn't have very good technique, but that's not going to change here, right? He's just going to plod forward and throw volume for the sake of volume, and Rowe's going to back up. The risk here is Rowe's going to throw a couple of straight punches when he lets go, and he's going to be in danger of knocking out Price. Alex Oliveira, yes, I know he's washed, but that was a good fight as well. Oliveira was so much faster, so much more athletic than Price. And, Price just pressured him, ate a few bombs, and then got on the inside. I just think if Rowe doesn't scare Price away with his power, it's just Price is going to keep coming. And, he's got so much more advantages, the calf kick, the takedowns, the cardio, the power, durability. I think Rowe's best chance is a KO. I don't know what a Rowe decision looks like personally, so maybe you can tell me that, because Nico Price was on the way to beating out Luque in decision as well. It's just the volume is there. He's got his holes, but the volume and the power is there, and he'll fight for your money. Rowe just looks scared sometimes. So yeah, it's a bit of a volatile fight. Everyone is still saying pass or Rowe and pass, and it does scare you a little bit, but I'm just going to stick to my guns here. I taped it quite extensively. I think it should be a 60%, which gives me almost 20 cents value there. And obviously he's come off an ACL injury as well, and like a whole knee reconstruction. That means absolutely nothing to me, because the way Niko Price fights, it looks like he has no ACLs, right? He's never athletic anyway, so he's always getting out athleted and out physical by other opponents. So the fact that his ACL has been repaired, he's just going to be the same old guy. He doesn't rely on explosive power, so he's more heavy-handed. So yeah, Price for me. The unders are a bit juiced. I guess I can see it going to a decision in just if Rowe can survive somehow. But yeah, Price for me, $1.80. It's my first play on the card. I've got a full unit on it. What about you?
Yeah, I'm one of those people saying pass on this one, to be honest. Like, I hear what you're saying in terms of the arguments for Nico, but both guys are bad enough and have enough qualities that I don't want to bet on, that I just don't want to risk losing money on this fight. If I had to line it, I think that it's probably about accurate. Like, I think making Nico a slight fave makes sense. I struggle to put him as any bigger of a favorite than what he is. Concerns on his side, obviously, just being like the hit ability, general sloppiness, layoff, injuries with the knee reconstruction. You never know how guys are going to come back from that, especially at his age and with the damage he's taken. Then on the Phil Rowe side, yeah, just terrible fighter. He's got length and some jiu-jitsu and some pop, and that's about it. I just hate this guy so much. He's an idiot. I just can't stand the guy. Like, when he throws strikes, he looks like surprised when he gets countered. Like, I think because of his length, he just always expects to be able to hit people without getting hit back. Then you saw against Gabe Green, like, he would throw a 1-2 and then Green would counter him, and like he was just like, oh, what the fuck? Like, what's happening? He just looks like shocked that he's getting hit. He's just got no defense, right? Classic like syndrome of like a long, lanky guy. They're just totally reliant on their physical attributes for their defense. Once you get inside, and if you're willing to like string punches together and punch your way into the pocket against them, he just looks all out of sorts, right? And that's something that Nico's pretty reliable to do. His footwork's a shambles. He always finds himself with his back on the fence where he's easy to take down, or he'll even pull guard, like you said. His jiu-jitsu's not bad, though. Like, he had a nice sweep on Gabe Green, but, you know, you just can't trust a guy who's that easy to put on bottom, that willing to put himself on bottom, who's so hittable, has no, like, craft at all in his game. Like, he could sleep Nico, to be honest, like, because he does seem to have some pop. And, like, when you let him just go first and, like, do what he wants on the feet, like, he can throw some nice shots. But, you know, for the most part, Nico's pretty reliable to pressure. But, yeah, man, I don't know. Like, the only way I could play Rowe would be no scorecards. Nico could finish him, but I think on the ground, Rowe will, like, go to his guard. And his guard seems decent. He can probably use that to stay safe. And then is Nico going to put him out with one punch? Maybe. He does have, like, crazy power, so he could. But, yeah, otherwise, just no interest, man. It's just one of those ones where I have no conviction because both guys are just so bad and likely to do like stuff that's just going to make you pull your hair out. So yeah, easy pass for me. Like, Rowe, no scorecards, maybe, but I doubt I'm going to play it. That's the only thing I would like begin to consider. Nico by decision, maybe not a bad look if you like that side. Again, he could finish because Rowe's got no defense, especially standing. But yeah, enough about that fight for me. I don't have any like confident takes. I just passed.
Fair. I can understand. Yeah, I can understand where everyone passing, etc., etc. It's just, I taped extensively, and I just feel like I got a good read, and you know, a lot of the fights are sweaty. You know, you just kind of have to bite the bullet. Like last week, everything felt so forced. You know, Talia Silva felt forced, Brady felt forced because I knew Brady was going to get dropped, and he got dropped in the first round. But you just look at it; it will be sweaty, but it will still win. Talia Silva will get taken down early; she'll still win. This is the same for me. You know, Rowe probably lights him up every now and then. But, yeah, it's just a massive step up. The one thing we know is Nico Price would fight for my money. So if he's busted up in rounds 1 and 2, he's going to come out there and just fucking put on the pressure, and he's going to probably spark Rowe. And the thing that you said was just made me crack up, man. Like, when Rowe gets hit, he's just surprised. It's so true, dude. He doesn't expect anyone to hit him back. And that reminded me of that Tim Means fight when Means was lighting up Price, and the commentators thought he was about to get knocked out, and you could see that split pause where he just countered him and knocked him out. And I was like, yeah, if that happens to Rowe, he's going to be seeing stars. So yeah, let's move on. What do we got next? Alrighty. Eric Anders versus Chris Daukaus. God help me. I'm actually liking Eric Anders, and I hate the guy. I've faded him with juice on against Iron Turtle. He outperformed himself. He did the best he could possibly do, and he still lost. He's just a plodding, slow heavyweight, light heavyweight, middleweight like me. And he just has nothing but a left hand, and he's heavy-handed, horrible footwork, gassy, clinches a lot, but wrestling's bad. Yeah, he's just not a lot to like with Eric Anders, but he's got at least one big punch in him, and he always, he wobbled Elias, he knocked out Moreira, he dropped GM3. He's got it in him. He almost knocked out Stewart if he wasn't an idiot, which is another part of his bad game, lack of IQ. And Carl Daukaus, I'm also not impressed by him either. He looks good on tape, but he's always had problems with physicality. And I'm not one of those guys that want to say he's chinny because he got knocked out by DOlidze of all people, because DOlidze hits like a truck. But Brendan Allen dropped him like 3 times. Every time he hit him with something clean, he dropped him. And there's one of the regional fights. I didn't want to tape it now because I've taped it before. But one of the regional types, he gets hurt bad, and then he comes back and gets a DAS. So he's been hurt multiple times. Surprisingly, Phil Halls didn't hurt him, but he just busted him up to the body and he got slowed down and got tired. So more athletic, bigger physical guys have their way with Daukaus. And I mean, if Anders can just fight against Iron Turtle, and these odds are even worse, why can't he, maybe hurt him once or just hold him up against the cage? Daukaus also loves to hold him up against the cage and has bad wrestling himself. Could see a clinch fighting, just a grindy clinch fight. Daukaus has better hands. So yeah, as much as I hate Anders, I'm so tempted to play him. I haven't played him yet because the line keeps going in Daukaus' direction, so I'm just waiting. Worst case, I'll just sprinkle a little KO decision for Anders. So if I lose money, I'm not pulling my hair out. I just a quarter unit sprinkle. Will be over $3. And I do have to go the distance. I think you might have as well. $1.66. I'm going to look for some better prices. Just because, relatively durable Anders, and I think if he does hurt Daukaus, he doesn't have one-punch KO power. He's let a lot of people off the hook when he's hurt him. So go the distance. The only thing that scares me with Anders is he got submitted in round 1 by an anaconda choke in grappling against Petrosky recently. And he also left his neck out a lot against Iron Turtle as well. So it's like a lot of people are saying he's got good submission defense, and he hasn't really fought anyone other than Muniz. And all of a sudden, like, I'm seeing some holes in his headlock defense. That kind of scares me about to go the distance. Other than that, yeah. Anders is definitely going to be a play for me. It's weird to say, but it's kind of the only play I feel good about. So even though I haven't played it yet, what do you think about this fight?
Yeah, I agree, man. I think Anders is definitely the side, and I bet him at plus 180. Again, it's a smaller bet. Like, it's I kind of feel the same about it as the Guida bet. Like, not massive confidence and don't think there's like huge upside, but I just think that it should be lined a lot closer. And I think that, Daukaus covering this line kind of relies on him getting top time, which I don't think he's going to get. His wrestling, his takedowns all come from the body lock. And like you said, when he goes up against a bigger physical guy, which Anders is, then he really struggles to get much going there. You saw against DOlidze, as soon as he got into the fence, got like pushed up against the fence, he just got turned in the body lock, and then DOlidze got behind him and smashed him with that knee. I just think Anders is the side here. I don't see why he's being lined as like less than 35% implied. I think that's way off. Daukaus in the striking probably puts together, does put together like nicer combinations with the hands and stuff. Anders has the one-shot power though. Like, he does hit pretty hard when he lands. Obviously, the frustration with him is that he can just sometimes stand there and do nothing. But I like Fight Ready for him. I think they do a pretty good job at like identifying their fighters' strengths and just building a game plan around it, like he did against Park. Like, just using the left hand, dropping in on the single, using some cage push, and then just kind of rinse and repeat. I think that sort of game plan works fine here against Daukaus. Daukaus has massive flaws as well. Even if he puts together cleaner combinations on the feet, he just can't resist ducking into the body lock. It's just that terrible habit that he has. And he just goes into that body lock where he gets out physical and gasses himself out. So, yeah, I think Anders has upside to win rounds just by landing bigger shots and also probably getting a bit more control time because he's bigger, stronger, should be able to turn Daukaus along the fence. Get what you're saying about the GTD, but yeah, there's just like both guys are a bit too hittable. Like, I'd be a little bit worried about Daukaus getting finished again, especially coming off that like DOlidze loss where he had to have like pretty fucking crazy surgery to get his face fixed there. Like, his face got busted up really badly. And then, yeah, Anders does get a bit irresponsible where he sticks his head, and we know Daukaus has got some pretty good front chokes. So yeah, for me, I don't just want to double up on goes the distances in Anders personally. I'm just going to stick with a small bet on Anders money line. But yeah, understand all the angles on GTD, Anders decision, that sort of stuff. But yeah, that's all I got. Just small bet Anders money line.
Cool. Looks like we're on the same page. Yeah, we weirdly feel confident about that one. I don't know why, even though I hate watching tape, you just hard to get confidence. Let's quickly address this one. Nico Price is buddy with Rowe, doing some charity work. Last time he was buddy with someone was Cowboy. Look, he still tried to kill Cowboy, man. He was trying to murder him. He just kept eye poking him. Gabe Green, the Gabe Green finish, he said he felt bad each time he kicked Rowe's leg. Dumbest thing I ever heard. I had Green inside the distance there too, man. I fucking lost it. I hated how he kept getting taken down. You guys think Anders beat Park? Look, honestly, man, I thought Park won that fight just because all Anders does is cage push, and he got wobbled a bit, and that's the problem with Anders. Is just like, what's his best path? You know, just cage push and get a couple of big shots, but I think he can do it against Daukaus. Yeah, let's move on. Next fight, Jack Hermanson versus Roman DOlidze. Really hard fight for me to get a read on myself personally. I would have loved to take Hermanson at earlier odds. Now it's minus 200. He's not the perfect fighter. He is much better than DOlidze, but he's been knocked out before. He can start slow sometimes, you know, the round one against Edmund Shabazian. Yes, he's got better volume, better striking, better cardio, better takedowns. You know, DOlidze can't stop a takedown. He almost wants to be on his back. He's, you know, one-shot striker, but he has intangibles. So, yeah, I don't want to overcomplicate this one. It's just don't want to force it either. Wait till I bet it, see how the fight plays out, and then I'll look to take advantage of Hermanson's cardio by live betting it. Round 2 and maybe round 3, but probably round 2 because DOlidze could be completely falling off the cliff in round 2. Only other thing I contemplate is under 2.5, but I can't really get a read if either guy is going to get a finish. So at the moment, I'm passing and looking to live bet Hermanson. What about yourself?
Yeah, I agree again. Obviously, anyone who's kind of like tuned in for a while knows that I'm a massive DOlidze hater. But, you know, I did contemplate it when Hermanson, like, he was minus 150, got down to almost like a minus 140, I think. And I was like, I was umming and ahhing about it. But at the end of the day, like, I still think live's the best way to go, just because Hermanson, he doesn't blow anyone out round one. He kind of takes a while to build and like get his game going. He kind of needs to get the volume and the pace going before he can really start to look like a decent favorite. And I just think early on, DOlidze, his striking looked fairly improved to me against Hawes. He looked just a lot more comfortable, and he looked like he had more of a plan. He kind of knew what he was trying to do on the feet rather than just throwing random single strikes like he has in the past. And also, he's a big, strong guy, right? In round one, while he's fresh, I don't think Hermanson's going to get him down easily. I don't even know if Jack is really going to be looking to shoot too much early on, and if they do, I think they just end up spending a lot of time in like upper body clinches, just kind of jostling against the cage. So yeah, I'm going to look to live bet Jack. Like he kind of probably just needs to get a bit of clinch time, get the first round out of the way, get some volume going, and then wait for DOlidze to start slowing down, and that's when Jack can probably pull away on the volume. Like, he'll get his kicks going, and then maybe he'll be able to start getting some top time, because once DOlidze's tired, I have a feeling he's probably still a bit happy to play guard once he's tired, because that's just his comfort zone. But early on, he's dangerous, you know. Like, he obviously hits very hard. I don't think he's the best striker still, but he's got power, and he's bonked a few guys now. And yeah, Jack's hittable, you know. Like, being a volume striker, he puts himself in the line of fire pretty often. It's just a product of his style, right? You can't really be a volume guy without being at risk for getting hit fairly often. So I think DOlidze's power is live to keep the first round pretty close. Also gives him kind of like the upside to have the big moments early on. Jack gets hit, has bad optics as well when he gets hit. But that being said, he's gritty and he always pushes through. So if he can survive it, I'll pretty much look to auto bet him like after a round, assuming he didn't get like shit kicked or nothing happened and DOlidze didn't have to work at all. But yeah, I definitely favor Jack to win the second half of the fight, just with the proven cardio, the proven volume. Should theoretically be the one getting on top if there's, if anyone's going to do it. So yeah, look for that live bet.
Cool. Let's move on. Tai versus Sergey Pavlovich. What do you make of this line movement?
Yeah, pretty interesting. I think it's just kind of what you see at heavyweight with like a big Russian guy who just KO ones everyone, just runs through people, slaughtering them. Kind of makes sense. He just hasn't had a chance to really look bad outside the Reem loss, whereas Tai, we've kind of seen him grow up in the UFC. I think making Pavlovich a favorite makes sense, but probably no wider than like minus 150, 60% sort of thing. He does seem to be like a ridiculous hitter for the division. I'll give him that. And like he does have like pretty like good boxing form for a heavyweight. He's not out there like swinging wild hooks like a Chris Daukaus. He does like use his jab and his straight punches pretty nicely, and he knows how to find them. But when he's not knocking guys out, his work rate's pretty average, and he doesn't do a whole lot. Like he got outlanded by Shamil in that first round. So, but if you want me to like predict how the fight's going to go, I do have to think that he probably does knock Tai out, just because Tai gets hit and hurt by everyone. Like got hurt by Greg Hardy, got hurt by Derek Lewis, in his last few fights. So I think he can compete minute to minute pretty well, because he's got the leg kicks, which are a big weapon at heavyweight. And he does a good job, like with his cage push, and then landing his elbows and his strikes off the break, off his cage push. But it just feels to me like he's going to have a hard time not getting hit with a big 1-2 at some point by Pavlovich. So I haven't bet anything yet. I do think the value is all on Tai in the over. But yeah, I just feel like Tai gets sparked round one at a pretty big clip, just because his defense isn't great, and he gets hit and hurt like pretty often. And I think Pavlovich is a pretty big hitter. If he survives round one and he's made Pavlovich work a bit, and he's banked some leg kicks and some cage push, and Pavlovich looks a bit tired and Tai's mixing it up, I'd be happy to bet on him live, because Pavlovich outside like 1 round or 6 minutes is just like a massive question mark, right? We have no idea what he looks like outside of that. So yeah, again, another live bet. If I see a lot of people betting Tai, and I totally get it. Like, yeah, I understand. But just when I watch the tape, I'm just like, man, I just see Tai getting hit with that 1-2 personally. So yeah, pass for me at this stage. If it gets super crazy, like at a certain point, my hand's going to be forced. It just hasn't quite got there yet, though.
I'm close, man. I'm close. I taped it when the line was worse, and I contemplated it. I was very impressed by Tai against Gunn. I think he's improved a lot. He's got good distance management. He's patient. Like you said, he's got the calf kicks, and Sergey is a plodding, flat-footed counter striker. Right, so it's like on the outside, Tai's going to have his way. The only problem is that massive reach advantage, and how good of a counter striker Pavlovich is. Like, he's constantly waiting for leg kicks and he's counting over the top. And, it's like you said, I can see Tai getting caught once or twice. And there's a lot of early stoppages with Pavlovich as well. It's just because the guy hits so hard, and he's kind of good at swarming and forcing the ref to make that decision. Right? It's just people are turtled up, and even Lewis. As soon as Lewis ate some bombs, man. When people saying he was going to get knocked out by Spivak because his chin was gone, man. Lewis ate so many bombs by Sergey, and then eventually just fell down to his knees and then popped up straight away, and that's when the ref stopped it. Like, as he was getting up, didn't even allow any follow-up punches. It's just, I see a big speed and physicality advantage for Pavlovich. But like you said, when he gets out of round one, he's just, and if he can't pound that big counter strike, it devolves into a a, 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 He also has good takedowns and wrestling. When Overeem grappled him, he actually went for a double leg, and Overeem has really good wrestling, so he couldn't get anything off. But I can completely see him taking Tai down in that situation. Derek Lewis was throwing him around of all people. But yeah, it's just I'm getting close because at this point I feel like this is a dog shot that you have to take. And yes, you can see Pavlovich hitting harder and having longer reach and better physicality, but you could see that with Derek Lewis and a lot of these fighters, and he almost knocked out Cyril Gane. Like he's underestimated. Tai's underestimated. You look at the main things. He'll fight for your money. He's actually got good cardio. He never sits on the stool. He didn't sit on the stool again in round 2 or round 3 against Gane. He's just, he's live to throw calf kicks. The main thing is he's dangerous when he's hurt. So whenever someone swarms him, he throws back when he's hurt. So he threw against Gane. He threw against Lewis. That's how he knocked out Hardy. So if Pavlovich is going to do his thing and hit him with a 1-2 and then go to swarm, when other people were covering up and the refs stopped it, Tai might be live to just counter him back and just spark him himself. So, yeah, I think I'm just going to take it. I have to. If it's the slowest round 1, Tai's going to be racking up leg kicks. If he gets hurt, he's got that ungodly chin. I mean, I've got everything that I need for a dog. If he gets knocked out, he gets knocked out. But, yeah, I might have to take it. It's gone below minus 200 now, so it's at what point do I wait? It's Tai's a top 5 guy in my opinion. So, he's improved a lot. So yeah, I'll have to take it. I'll have a look if I can see the market, if it's going to get wider. If not, then I'll take it. Just for a tiny sprinkle. Why not? And Pavlovich round 1, it's much better than the under 1.5. So it's $2.20. So I don't know what you think about that, but it's not bad. I mean, he doesn't. Whenever he's gone out of round 1, he hasn't got a KO. So they're all round 1 KOs.
Didn't he commit KO? Was the Shamil one round 1?
Yeah, they're all round 1 in the UFC.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just worry that it gets out of round 1 and then he just insta kills him start of round 2.
I don't think he will, man. I think if he gets out of round 2, Tai wins at a pretty high clip. I think he will be a little bit tired. He won't be able to land his kill shot, and then Tai will probably get his own reads a little bit. And Tai's best round is round 2 as well. He kind of starts slow and then gets his reads. So I've kind of talked myself into that. So $2.20. I remember it was like $1.90 against Shamil or something, and I was like, nah, I can't play that just because. And I loved it. I loved the parts watching that fight. Nothing was happening, and then he just hit him once, and then the ref jumped in. So it's like he's not live for. He essentially knocks everyone out on his first flurry. So yeah, I like Tai here. I'll play him. I'll talk myself into it. Next fight, Mateusz Nicolau, Matt Schnell. Oh man, this line is insane. I don't know what to say. Schnell is super chinny, but and Nicolau super well rounded. Takedowns, excellent jiu-jitsu, excellent boxing, power, IQ, circles around, looks to counter, everything you want in a fighter. The only thing is a bit low output, and I said this when I taped Sumadaji last time and I did a podcast with you. There's 3 types there's 3 ways that Matt Schnell fights go. He either gets sparked, he either gets a submission off his back, or it dwells into a 3-round technical decision, right? If it's a 3-round technical decision with Nicolau's output, I can see tons of value on this fight. Tons of value on this fight. I mean, we all thought Tyson Nam was going to send his head into the 3rd row, and he actually had a few overhand rights from Tyson Nam, but just rolled with him and nothing happened, and just ended up winning a decision. He's got good power himself. I know I used to think Nicolau is chinny. If you remember back in the day, he got knocked out with a head kick by Ortiz that was blocked. I used to get some chinny vibes from Nicolau back in the day. He hasn't been hit properly. Even against Cup, he was kind of reacting bad in round 2. I guess he survived and Cup hits hard. It's still, if Schnell cracks it, man, it could be a little bit sweaty. But it's just hard to trust Schnell. It's just at any point he can eat one punch. And he's low output himself sometimes. He's either low output or he's aggressive and getting dropped. So, but we've seen that he'll fight for your money. So just this line is out of this world. I got nothing. I don't think I can play Schnell, unfortunately, just because I hate losing money on Schnell. If anything, I might just put $50 on him by decision. That's $7 or something. Just nothing. Stuff that I won't even care about. What about you? And then look to live bet. See how the fight is panning out. What about you?
Yeah, I agree, man. Obviously, everyone knows the deal with Schnell, right? The guy just is pretty reliable to find ways to get finished. But at the same time, like, this line is insane, right? Like, Schnell is now worse than like plus 300. I bet him at plus 280, I think. And I was like, man, surely this doesn't go like past plus 300, but it did. Yeah, like Nicolau, he's low volume, so like minute to minute, how is he looking like minus 300 unless he's like just scoring multiple knockdowns, right? Obviously, he could finish now, but like you said, there's still the chance that Nicolau could be a little bit fragile himself. Um, but yeah, I just see no way that this line looks accurate minute to minute. Both guys, could find a finish standing. So yeah, hard to trust now because he really fights optimally, and he's either gonna probably drop live to either drop like a close, low-paced striking decision, or he'll go and like inside a brawl where he gets himself killed or something. But at a certain point, like you just got to play it, and it reached that point for me. And now he's heading towards like almost 20% implied, which is just friggin' insane. So of course he could lose, right? But I'm more than happy to like bet, in the neighborhood of plus 300 here.
Indeed, it's a crazy line. It's a crazy line. You think Schnell will get some respect after that epic performance against? I honestly think Mudaji is more dangerous than Nicolau by miles. Like, just a lot more faster, bigger reach, just in and out. I thought he was going to knock out Schnell at any moment. Whereas Nicolau, I don't know when Nicolau's going to throw, let alone when he's going to knock him out. And also in that Dvorak fight, he went for a takedown and pulled guard and just ended up on the bottom and lost round 3 to Dvorak. Like, little things like that is kind of like flaky tendencies. Like, he's happy to just have a failed takedown attempt. And I've seen it against someone else as well, taping him. So it's just like, maybe Schnell can out hustle him. But yeah, no way you can play this guy. No way you can play him at this line. Alrighty. Rafael dos Anjos, Ryan Barbarena, I'll let you take this one away, mate.
Yeah, pretty straightforward, right? Like, RDA is a massive favorite, and I think it's pretty warranted. He should have advantages everywhere, really. I kind of think Barbarena needs a KO fairly early, or he's just going to get drowned under RDA's pace and grappling. Striking-wise, RDA much cleaner. He can be hit, but he does a really good job of taking stuff on the guard, and he rolls with everything. You rarely ever see him get hit clean and get hurt, and it puts him off. He just seems to be able to catch everything on the guard and just keeps coming forward. Barbarena's pretty wild. He's slower. He's gassy. He's got terrible takedown defense, but his get-ups are reasonable. I just think RDA, standing it probably looks close. Barb might be able to use his size a little bit. But I just think RDA is going to be able to strike, get him back to the fence, and he'll mix in some takedowns, right? Might not get a ton of top time. Barbarena's pretty good at scrambling up, especially against the cage. That being said, RDA is a very good grappler, though, better than the guys who have been grappling Barbarena lately. So on one hand, maybe minus 500 is a little crazy, because just for men's MMA, that is, and RDA is old enough and maybe worn enough where he could just get caught and hurt. But man, I don't really see it happening, so I don't really have a problem with lining RDA 80% in this fight, because I'm just not sure what a Barbarena win looks like outside getting a early-ish KO. Last time, he was just lucky. He fought someone who was more old and more washed and more gassy than he was, and Robbie, and he was losing, right, until Robbie's cardio just went off a cliff in the space of a minute in that fight. So yeah, I think this is RDA via, pacing his way to a late finish, because Barbarena will just, once he's gassed, he just gets hit with everything. And, we saw Witt put him on skates a few times. So it wouldn't be surprising if RDA could finish him later on. But I think it's most likely a decision with a bunch of grappling and takedowns mixed in. So yeah, I haven't played anything, and I don't think I will be playing anything on this fight. RDA sub at a big number would have been interesting, but it's pretty rubbish.
Agree. It's just hard to get a read. I mean, it's not hard to get a read. You should win, but how can you play this? I just want to put him in a parlay or some rubbish. But even then, like you said, I don't feel comfortable moving up in weight. If he doesn't finish Barbarena's always live to turn it on, and he can hit hard. I never expected Barbarena to knock out Robbie Lawler. Robbie Lawler's massively washed. And I think like he's improving a bit as well after his injury. You see a lot of these people like Jeff Neal, they have that massive injury and then takes 3-4 fights to kind of get back to their old self. I think Barbarena after that back injury is kind of finding his groove again. But yeah, just getting thrown around by Mike Brown and stuff. Matt Brown is just it's just Rafael Adesanya is still keeping competitive with Fiziev. I don't know what to play. That's all. I don't know. Decision. Like Barbarena's never been subbed. He's been in there with some decent sub guys. KO is pretty durable. I mean, Rafael Adesanya he's only hurt Moicano, who's very tuny recently. Yeah, and up at weight. Probably decision, but decision is juiced. So it seems like an unplayable fight to me personally. So I agree on that. Giza, mortgage on RDA. Can he finish though? I don't know. I don't think so. Giza's been advocating for a lot of our juice plays. How about this one? Beautiful, sloppy heavyweight scrap. Here. Fight doesn't go a distance. $1.14. Thank you, Giza. I'll put that in all my parlays.
Giza loves a parlay.
All right. Finish us off strong, mate. We started off slow, but we've powered through these last few. Steven Wonderboy Thompson versus Kevin Holland. What do you reckon?
Yeah, interesting one, right? Obviously, a lot of this probably comes down to the Wonderboy side and some question marks around there. He's had to go up against grapplers in his last few fights, and obviously those didn't go the way that I'm sure he would like them to. But when you look back, he's not that far removed from just putting a complete clinic on Jeff Neal, right? And that one's aged pretty well with how Neal's been going of late. So I think here, obviously, we're probably going to be in for a striking affair. Holland might attempt like an opportunistic takedown here or there, but at the same time, it's pretty hard to get into range to do that against Wonderboy. The striking matchups, it's kind of tough because we've never seen Wonderboy had to go against someone who's so much bigger than him, as Holland is. Like he's just gigantic at welterweight with the length. So yeah, it's kind of hard to figure out. You'd have to assume that like the finish upside is mostly sitting with Holland. He hits pretty hard. Wonderboy, although he's clean, he doesn't carry like massive, just like natural power. And Holland's also got like a crazy chin on him. He's very durable. Like he can be hurt, but even when he got like flush headbutted by Carl Daukaus, he still didn't go out. So he's just a very hard guy to put away, even if you hurt him. So yeah, it's just like has Wonderboy still got it like in him to like navigate against like a longer, more powerful striker? He could well do, right? Like the dude he's one of the best strikers to ever do it in the UFC. So it wouldn't surprise me if he does. But in terms of like action here, I've just bet that goes a distance. I got what did I get? I got like plus 170 or something like that. And then I also managed to get some Holland no scorecards at like minus 190, so a bit better than 2-1. So basically, I'll profit if the fight goes the distance. I'll be near enough to break even if Holland finishes, and then obviously a Wonderboy finish would be punishment for me, but I don't think that's particularly likely. So yeah, that's the way I've decided to play it. I'd rather play goes the distance than Wonderboy's money line, just because I think I would much rather cover Holland winning a decision than Wonderboy finishing inside the distance. Goes the distance is a better price than Wonderboy's money line. So yeah, and I don't think he's so washed that Holland's just going to be able to hit him easily, right? Wonderboy historically one of the hardest guys to like hit clean on the feet, just master of range, master of defensive footwork in the cage. So I think if Wonderboy is not washed, then this likely turns into a very measured, just striking fight over 5 rounds where neither guy's cardio is going to be particularly taxed, and it's just going to be like a bit of a chess match, as most Wonderboy fights end up being, right? Wonderboy, usually he's pretty prone to dropping round 1, needs to make his reads and stuff like that, and I don't think he'll be in a huge rush to get off to a hot start in a 5-rounder. So I'd look to maybe live bet Wonderboy if he drops the first round and then he starts looking like he's dialing it in versus Luque or something. But yeah, I got that goes the distance. If you get Holland no scorecards, anything better than like 70% implied, I think is good. And yeah, I think this is just going to go to a decision most of the time. I hope Wonderboy wins it, deserves a win. And yeah, I'll be happy to get on him live if, he drops the first round and then starts to look like he's dialing it in.
Nice. For me personally, it's a hard fight to get a read on, man. It's a hard fight to get a read on. I was taping it, and obviously I was taping it when the fight was a pick'em, and I thought about playing Holland. In my mind, I was like, okay, a lot of 40-year-old Steven and intangibles on Holland, and he's just live to crack him at any point. Every time I bet against or for Holland, it's a very volatile fight. I remember thinking about playing Means against him, and then I just thought, nah, at any point you can just smash through Means, and this kind of fight gives me the same vibe, But yeah, just you're taping Steven's career. I went pretty far, so I could get a read. You go through the Terence Hill fight where he gets dropped. You go through a Pettis fight where he gets knocked out. Luque fight, he just takes him to the cleaners, but he gets wobbled in the first round as well. And then you see a bit better against Jeff Neal and even Burns. Burns threw his big overhands and never got close to hitting him. And it's like he still got it. He's still dangerous on the feet. And then you watch Holland tape, and the dude just loads up so much. He's just like the Alex Oliveira fight was perfect, right? The Tim Means one, it's useless because Tim Means high guard, ports forward, zero head movement, looks to play around with your hands, and he was a punching bag. I'm surprised he lasted to round 2 really with some of the shots that he took from Kevin Holland. But Alex Oliveira fight was a good fight, right? So Alex Oliveira, same as Wonderboy, hands low, big reach, and just bouncing on his toes. And he was kicking the crap out of Holland, man. He dropped him twice with the calf kick. He landed multiple times on him. Holland couldn't get the speed. He just couldn't catch him. And everything was throwing, he was loading up. So yes, you got that fear factor of, Holland, Thompson with his hands low, and, Holland's going to throw big at any point, and he's got bigger reach. And you just know Thompson can't put his hands up. It's not what he does. And you got that fear factor there. But then on the other side, it's like Holland is so many levels below Thompson in striking. And then you just watch him dance around better strikers that are just chasing him for 3 rounds. And it's like, what if this ends up being a levels fight? What if, Holland gets out there and he's throwing his jumping hammer fists and spinning elbows, and Holland just and Thompson's just moving out of the way. And then he's like, oh crap, maybe I got to slow down. Like I'm not going to hit him with any of this stuff. And then they just end up staring at each other. And then I ended up going back to the Charles Ontiveros fight because I'm like, yeah, that's kind of similar, I guess. And then Charles Ontiveros was like trouble for him on the feet, man. He was like, he threw that X kick, and then Holland took him down. I was like, you know what? I can see Holland changing up the game plan here. He wanted to sub Means. He said in his interview he was going to sub Means. So yeah, he's not getting a wrestler. Neither of these guys are getting wrestlers. He's just, yeah, I don't want to play Holland a massive juice, waiting for his big moment, and then his big moment doesn't come for round 1, 2, 3, and I'm sweating. And it's like all the values on Thompson. And on the other side, it's like, what if Thompson just does nothing like in the Darren Till fight? But I feel like Thompson only fights like that when he's up against another technical fighter. So Till was like throwing a lot of feints. He was being technical himself, so they ended up having that technical battle. Holland is going to do what Luque does, just throw bombs, just come into throw like wild shit into the pocket, and Thompson, if you can rely on him to be safe, he's gonna dodge a lot of the stuff. So I kind of agree with you on the go to distance. I'd rather play that than Thompson money line, just in case Holland somehow wins a decision. But yeah, it's a weird fight. Like you said, we haven't seen like a compatible match, and I think Holland's improving as well, man. I think he looked a lot better at welterweight against Oliveira and Means. Yeah, not the best fighters, but yeah, it's a rough one, man. It's a bit of a crossroads fight, but I feel like, yeah. I remember Thompson was underestimated a lot of times like this against Luque, against Jeff Neal, and we're doing that again. And who knows? I feel like there's a bit of a step down. So yeah, at the moment, I have nothing. What I do have is I do have the Holland no scorecards like yourself, but I got $1.44, and now it's got steamed. But I mean, man, that's juice, right? Even at that juice, I'm happy with that play. I only put 1 unit on it because whenever I play these no scorecards, the guy that never gets a finish almost gets a finish. So I feel like Thompson might surprise me and get a spinning wheel kick or some shit. Whenever I play him, they end up almost getting a finish. But I really like that play. Holland's obviously a massive favorite because everyone's expecting him to get the finish. So that's what's playing into the line. So it really should be $1.20, $1.30. It should be some ridiculous line. So, and I don't see Thompson side kicking him or blitzing him with a 1-2 and finishing him. Right. So yeah, no scorecards for me, Holland. If he gets a finish, yeah, it'll be sad, but it is what it is. And then maybe I just look to live bet it. Maybe I'll play over 2.5 rounds. It's good money. 2.5. What is that at? I think it was $1.70. Close to plus money. Yeah, $1.72. I might play that. I don't want to sweat it later. I don't want to go the distance. Who knows what's going to happen in rounds 3, 4, 5. But yeah, that's pretty much it, man. So Thompson by decision is good look, a big number. Yeah, I guess if you want to, I think it's his best path. Is overs here got some value on? Seems like it. Yeah, they do. I think it's, yeah. All the unders depend on Holland. You might as well just play Holland at better price than the unders, which the unders are juiced. All right, mate. Let's quickly wrap this up. What are your best bets? And your top 2, and then I'll do my top 2 and we'll get out of here.
Yeah, so even though it's a little bit juiced, I still like that Rojo Marshal over 1.5. And even then, if you don't like laying that much juice, like it's minus 180 now, then I do think that over 2.5 is actually all right, even for a smaller bet as well. Just both guys super durable, hard to finish. Neither guy, I think, puts the other away easily. So I like that. I think there's value there. So either 1.5 or the 2.5 if you don't want to lay the juice. And then second favorite, I'll say Nunes. It's just super wide, man. And I think there's just a good chance you can live bet your way out of it. I don't see too many scenarios where she doesn't come into like a much smaller like dog, or even could go favorite after round 1, right? She's super dynamic. And the way she matches up with Yasmin, I just don't see how it doesn't play out much closer round 1. She's even got a really good shot at winning the first round. So yeah, Nunes, you can either ride it or look to bet your way out after a round. Yeah, so that and the over 1.5 would be the 2 that I like the most.
Nice. Who do I like? I like my Nicolau price. That's my favorite. It's my only bet that I have a full unit on. I got the over 1.5 as well, like yourself, on the Marshal. I don't know if it's my favorite. I only got half a unit. Anders go distance. Do I do it? Do I say Anders is my favorite play? Can you imagine? No, I can't do it. I'm not going to be one of those guys. Yeah, I really like this Kevin Holland no scorecard. He's a bit square with $1.44. I mean,
I think it's pretty good.
I'm quietly confident, man. As much as it will suck for Wonderboy to get finished, he'll probably retire, honestly, if he gets finished by Kevin Holland.
Yeah, he probably should.
Yeah, probably should if you're getting finished by Kevin Holland. But yeah, Nico Price is my number 1 play. Going against the grain here, even though money's coming on him. Everyone seems to be scared of that fight, or playing Phil Rowe. And yeah, Holland no scorecards. The money's coming on him because I think he's going to get a finish against a 40-year-old Wonderboy. So I'm happy with that. Cool. What do we got here? Chances Holland was serious about retirement and just wanted one more fight. He was serious because he was sick of wrestlers. It's kind of like Wonderboy saying no to Sharp Cut. So they're in the same boat. Like they're just kind of over being wrestled. So I think they might be G'd up for this fight. They both think they're getting a striking battle. They're going to be excited. Great pod, lads. Glad you're getting more views. Thank you, mate. Thanks for joining us. All right, let's get out of here. 1 hour 43 minutes is the longest one. I'll take a bit of blame for that. I started off very slow at the start. But anyway, thank you, mate. Thanks for joining me. And LFA next week. LFA, UFC, Bellator. Let's hope for some. You might see my face a bit more. Let's hope for some good plays to end December, end the year with a bang. Have a good one, mate.
All right. Thanks, mate. Catch up.
See ya. Thanks, everyone.